2, 1. Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the March 5th, 2014 Canby City Council regular meeting. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing for a moment of silence, please. Great. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know who's in my chair now.
Okay. Moving into communications this evening. Our agenda, any communications from? No? Okay. Tonight's our first opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. I have no yellow cards, but if there is somebody citizen-wise that wants to, nope, getting a head shake from the citizen here. So we will move into mayor's business. First off, I'd like to welcome Amanda Zeiber, our interim city manager. She'll be filling in for the recently departed. Sorry.
He departed?
That came out wrong. Wow, not departed, excuse me. He has left us to go sailing for another job opportunity. So we on Monday said a fond farewell to our previous city manager, Greg Ellis, and he's moved on to other things. So welcome, Amanda. She'll be filling that role for the city manager position for us here for a little while. Little business to take care of regarding, I'd like to take care of some compensation pieces. I think it's worth a conversation this evening for Amanda. Previously, in her last time we did this, the council approved a 10% pay increase for her position while she filled this role, and I'd like to do that again for the duration of this assignment. So I'd like to make that same arrangement at this time. Any thoughts or hesitations or questions? Okay. What I need will be a motion to do that, so I will.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move that we increase the compensation by an additional 10% for our assistant city manager and HR director for the duration of her role as interim city manager, making this effective retroactively to Tuesday, March 4th, 2014.
Second.
Any discussion pieces at all on that? No? Okay. Motion's been made by Councilor Dale and seconded by Councilor Ryder to approve a 10% increase for Amanda Zeiber for the duration of her role as interim city manager, making this effective retroactively to Tuesday, March 4th, 2014. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Takes care of that bit of business. Thank you all. Second thing, council met earlier this evening to discuss the process that we were going to be taking for the hiring of our new city manager. We had a really good dialogue about that, and we'll be carrying that conversation over until our next city council meeting, so stay tuned on that front. On February 21st, I met with the Urban Renewal Agency Chair, Dale, and the interim city manager, as well as a Mr. Andrews, to discuss review cost estimates of our library pieces, so we will be hearing more of that at our next URA meeting next week. We'll get the download on that. I want to say a thank you to the local Legion and the Canby Adult Center for a tremendous Iwo Jima World War II memorial. Just recently, it was a great turnout. They did an amazing presentation, kind of a history of our soldiers through the various wars from World War I all the way up to most recently with, I think the outfits and their gear were very time appropriate, but it was a great event. Next year will be actually the 25th anniversary of our Iwo Jima Memorial at the Adult Center and the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II. So definitely something to be taking in. I'd like to give a thank you to the Friends of the Library board for allowing me and Councilor Parker to attend their board meeting that they had last week. It ended with some great questions about the status of the library and the civic project and what was going on. And I really felt leaving that meeting that we had a really good, positive conversation with them, and they pulled no punches and asked some really good questions, and I think Councilor Parker and I did a fairly decent job having conversation about it. So I think we've got made some good headway there, and I'll let Councilor Parker address that as well in a moment. And then this past Tuesday at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, Dr. Steach, our superintendent, gave a very good State of the Schools address. It was, like I said, very good and a little eye-opening. If you have any interest in seeing the presentation or reading his blog about it, please go to the Canby School District website for more information. Definitely worth reading and taking a look at for all of us and you at home. I will turn it over to Councilor Rocha for liaison reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Canby Adult Center and Parks and Rec don't meet till later this month, so I don't have anything for them. And last week I was on vacation, so Councilor Hensey was able to go to the Canby Fire Board meeting for me. So I don't have anything unless you'd like to hear about my golf game last week.
In Arizona.
In Arizona, in 80-degree weather.
No, we don't. Thank you.
I'm glad it was a great trip for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I likewise attended the Iwo Jima celebration and commemoration. Also, the opening of a new store, a little preview opening of a new store in town, especially for you. Fantastic boutique for ladies' wear. Men, you can go in there too and buy something for your ladies. Clackamas City's dinner, we attended that, the mayor and I, and Councilor Ryder. I think that was all of us that made it this time around, too. I was going to mention Dr. Steach's State of the Schools address as my school board report, but I think they're going to re-air that. Did CTV5 tape that this time?
I can't recall. I don't
know,
recall that they
but
were-
it'll be on in script form on the website, so you can read it, if nothing else. And Canby Fire Department, I was reading Clackamas City's dinner. Canby Fire, Chief Ted Coons will be here next week at the Urban Renewal meeting to make a presentation regarding some urban renewal issues with the fire department. So be tuning in next week to hear from them. That was the main announcement I say I would take away from that meeting. And other than that, I have been spending a lot of time down in Salem watching the goings-on at the state legislature, so I'll be glad when that wraps up at the end of this week. But a lot of bills that are flying around that will affect the city, so I've been down there watching them, and that is what I have this week.
Any headway on the chief search and selection that you were aware of?
They have listed it on their recruiting site, so they are in the process of searching for a replacement, or I guess is the right word, for Chief Coons when he retires.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You bet.
Councilor Coleman.
Mr. Mayor, I also attended the Iwo Jima Memorial Celebration, and you did a very good job with your talk.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I also attended the opening of Especially For You women's clothing store in the Graham Building. I was very impressed with their store, and I wish them great success, and I think that'll add a good deal to the downtown. I also had the opportunity to attend the Planning Commission meeting to gather information for the impact related to traffic safety related to the Northwoods development of Phase 2. The development group seems to be more than willing to do their part to implement traffic calming measures, and I appreciate that, and we'll be bringing those forward with any recommendations that are proposed. Also wanted to just say, for any of you that go to the Canby Rodeo or the Canby Fair, this Saturday, if you just go on plug in Canby Rodeo, you can find out more about it. But this Saturday is the coronation celebration at the fairgrounds. It starts at 5:30. It's an awful lot of fun. It's a dinner as well as a silent and live auction. In the live auction, you can bid on everything from a plate of chocolate chip cookies to a weekend in Sun River. And what the fundraiser's for is it really helps the court when they travel all around the state and represent our rodeo. And it's just a really fun, great event. So I'd encourage you all to go to that.
Is this Saturday, you said?
That's this Saturday, starts at 5:30. You can get tickets right at the ticket office for $15 in advance or $20 at the door. And this Friday, our traffic safety meeting will be meeting again at 8:30 to 10 in the Public Works Conference Room. So if any of you would like to come, you're welcome. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Dale.
Mr. Mayor likewise attended Greg's farewell reception. How's that for a name? Is that a good name?
That's good.
Okay. Took some cake home. The kids said, "That's strange cake." They'd never had pink champagne cake, so Kim likes it. And also attended the American Legion Iwo Jima celebrations. On the Canby utility front, would just like to express our thanks to Jerry Smith, who has now gone off the board after years of service, and welcome aboard our own Walt Daniels as their newest board member. And that concludes.
Great. Thank you, sir. Councilor Parker.
Mr. Mayor, first up with the Main Street program, let's all show up Friday for the First Friday program to feature businesses that'll be providing some specials. We didn't let an ice storm get in the way of celebrating First Friday. We're not going to let a little bit of rain keep us away. And also a downtown draw will be at Salon L. And I know at least one of us has gotten a haircut there, I think. And they are going to be promoting their items there. On the new women's apparel business, especially for you, some of us working in the Main Street program for years have been trying to find an appropriate person to show up and take the first floor of the Graham Building, and we now have. And wishing Juanita a lot of luck and encouraging people to come down there and spend until they can't spend anymore. And finally, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to share with you something that has popped up with a couple of the boards that I work with, the bicycle pedestrian and then also some others that I don't. The idea of perhaps having a council of committees meeting. I know that there are some cross-interest in the Traffic Safety Commission, in the Bike Pedestrian Committee, and in the Transit Advisory Committee. So it's something that as we go through a planning process of looking for a way, perhaps we can sponsor, throw in a few bucks to have a pizza party or something like that, but to get some of these together that have some shared concerns so that we do what people expect us to do as a city, to have the right hand know what the left hand is doing. And I've been very impressed by the reports that I've been hearing out of the Traffic Safety Committee. It would be neat to get them in the same room with our Transit Advisory and my Bike Pedestrian Committee. So if that's something that we can put on our mid to long-term agenda of trying to get going.
Duly noted. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I also attended the Iwo Jima Memorial Service there, and I have to say that this is probably one of the more inspiring services that I get to attend at times. And the reason for that is that my wife had a husband that she lost to kidney failure about 30 years ago, and he, as a young naval mechanic, worked on a destroyer just offshore from Iwo Jima and was protecting the battleships that were shelling the island. And he was on deck at the time that he got to see the Marines raise the flag on Mount Suribachi. And we've talked about this many times, and the kids, and it's just every time I go down to this memorial, it just brings these memories back. And I think he's the only person that I've met through his wife that had been on Iwo Jima. I've met others that I knew that were on the Hornet when they bombed Japan. They was with General Doolittle, And it was really neat to get to talk to a lot of these different men over the years that had a part in being a part of the greatest generation. And so that was really, it's always a memorable time to go down there and to experience that. Also, it's been mentioned here different times tonight about some of the activities that are coming up on Friday and Saturday, and I would sure like to be at some of those, but I would be very amiss if I didn't take my wife out for our 11th anniversary. So won't be able to be there, but you'll be in our thoughts to a degree. And then my planning commission meeting is coming up this next Tuesday, and a CAT board meeting the third Thursday, so I'll be reporting after those. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will move into the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the minutes of the February 19th, 2014 City Council work session and regular meeting, the reappointment of Sandra Cranston and Carol Luce to the Transit Advisory Committee with terms to end on March 31st, 2017, and appointment of Larry Boatwright to the Planning Commission for a term to end on December 31st, 2016.
I'll second.
Motion made by Councilor Dale and seconded by Councilor Hensley to approve the consent agenda, which includes the adoption of the minutes of the February 19th, 2014 City Council work session and regular meeting, reappointment of Sandra Cranston and Carol Luce to the Transit Advisory Committee with terms to end on March 31st, 2017, and appointment of Larry Boatwright to the Planning Commission for a term to end on December 31st, 2016. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you all. All right. Resolutions and ordinances.
Okay, the first item we have is ordinance 1394. This is before you for second reading. This is establishing a retirement and separation payout reserve and committing it to be used to fund payouts of vacation, sick, comp, and holiday accruals, corresponding employer liabilities made in accordance with benefit agreements at the time of retirement or separation from the city.
All right, so we had a presentation on this a couple weeks ago. I know our finance director is here if there are any other questions, comments about it.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we adopt ordinance number 1394, an ordinance establishing a retirement and separation payout reserve and committing it to be used to fund payouts of vacation, sick, comp, and holiday accruals and corresponding employer liabilities made in accordance with benefit agreements at the time of retirement or separation from the city, and declaring emergency.
And I'd like to second.
Not sure what the emergency is, but we'll declare it.
Okay. Motion made by Councilor Hensley and seconded by Councilor Parker to approve ordinance 1394, establishing a retirement and separation payout reserve and committing it to be used to fund payouts of vacation, sick, comp, and holiday accruals and corresponding employer liabilities made in accordance with benefit agreements at the time of retirement or separation from the city. Roll call vote.
Councilor Rocha?
Aye.
Councilor Hensley?
Yes.
Councilor Coleman?
Aye.
Councilor Dale?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Yes.
Councilor Ryder?
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Okay, the next item we have is ordinance 1395. This is also before you for second reading. This is amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 12.28, regarding the city cemetery.
Great. Any input from staff on this?
Well, this was a kind of a better practices bookkeeping sort of deal that, if you recall, a lot of the language in the chapter didn't quite reflect the way things were going over there with the city cemetery, and so this was an attempt to make sure that the language of the ordinance kind of encapsulated a little bit more closely the reality on the ground where the rubber met the road, so, and this is, of course, for second reading.
Thank you, Joe. Questions at all? Okay. Motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move for ordinance number 1395, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 12.28, regarding the city cemetery.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Dale and seconded by Counselor Ryder to approve ordinance 1395, amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 12.28 regarding the city cemetery. Another roll call vote.
Counselor Rocha?
Yes.
Counselor Hensley?
Yes.
Counselor Coleman?
Yes.
Counselor Dale?
Aye.
Counselor Parker?
Yes.
Counselor Ryder?
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
The next item we have is ordinance 1396. This is also before you for second reading. This is amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04190 regarding business license exemptions.
Oh, and this also is a kind of a record keeping to a certain extent. It's the exemptions to the business license requirements here in Canby as set forth by ordinance. And basically, it added a few extra exemptions, and, you know, primarily one in the negative, too, which is that we won't allow or sanction illegal businesses here in Canby, so,
Great. Thank you, sir.
yes.
Motion on that one?
I move that we adopt ordinance 1396, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04.190 regarding business license exemptions.
I'll second.
Motion made by Counselor Ryder and seconded by Counselor Rocha to approve ordinance 1396, amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04.190 regarding business license exemptions.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
A comment on this, that this is the sort of ordinance that every city has, and I was pleased to see that when we did do a rewrite to it, that we made it more understandable and more, an easier read. So I appreciate that there are certain things that a city can do to make it a little bit easier to have a business, and one of them is just to have a little bit simpler language, so I appreciate that.
Thanks, and as a lawyer, we're sometimes challenged. Saying things in a little more plain language, and you guys have been very good about keeping me at, you know, a little more honest about the way in which I communicate, so I think I'm following your guys' lead.
Okay. Are we ready for vote now?
Did you repeat it? I didn't know if you
Yeah, I
repeated it.
did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Counselor Rocha?
Yes.
Counselor Hensley?
Yes.
Counselor Coleman?
Yes.
Counselor Dale?
Aye.
Counselor Parker? Counselor Ryder?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Thank you all. Moving into the new business portion this evening, we're going to go over departmental goal review for the Administration Department, Economic Development, Public Works and Street, Swim Center, Transit, and the Wastewater Treatment Plant. The purpose really for this evening, for tonight, and then our next meeting, is really trying to tie the goals of the city and staff projects together. We rewrote city goals, and staff spent some time going back through their project plans and reworking those to fit our goals, so it's our opportunity to kind of tie it all together. It's up for us to ask questions and get updated on what projects are working and what clarifications we need. For me, I think the desired outcome of this is just a list of projects, a council to prioritize with the staff team on those projects, and then how do we fund and implement based on the goals in the Canby Community Vision Plan that was completed last year. So that's kind of what we're looking to try to get accomplished with going over this tonight and in 2 weeks. So with that, we'll turn it over to, I think, the first contestant up this evening. Great.
I'm just going to do the first two. We have two departmental goals that we are working on. This is for administration, and they are to meet the council goal of community. One deals with enhancing communication to citizens, and the other one is organizing our city records in preparation for implementing a citywide archiving and records management program, which is needed desperately.
So a couple more that we have. One of them is in regards to the potential new civic building. The city staff would be working diligently to complete the new facility. We also have a couple goals related to funding and implementing parks master plans, including Parks and Rec, Parks Acquisition, Willamette Wayside master plans, et cetera. And also working with the Canby Area Parks and Rec in regards to the relationship to the district boundaries matching the Canby urban growth boundaries. As far as some of the transportation public safety that fit under that category, regular meetings to discuss issues and solutions with the county for public works issues. And we have had staff attending a couple meetings hosted by Clackamas County that, as I understand, were pretty well attended, and they discuss regional issues and how to coordinate amongst the cities within the county and share information. So we'll be proactively participating in that. And then on a healthy employee goal, we'll be sponsoring and hosting as part of our newly revised or enhanced employee and wellness program, bringing in speakers and trying to promote health and wellness amongst the city staff. And then while I'm still speaking, I would like to kind of flip over to Public Works. Jerry Nelzine, I spoke to him earlier today, and he had a family commitment, so I'll just take a moment to go over some of the goals that they had. And mostly maintaining and improving city infrastructure, including continuing the street maintenance program, promoting pedestrian safety by acquiring properties or easements for safe sidewalks, continuing to have a reliable sewer system, and working on stormwater master plans. So that's part of the Public Works goals and that I wanted to cover on his behalf. And then we have some other staff members here from some other departments that can talk about their goals. Renata from Economic Development.
So there were three major city council goals that pertain to economic development: community goal, growth and economic development goal, and finally the transportation public safety goal. And if the goals look familiar to you, they're word for word from the vision document that's closest to academic. So the first one, first council goal, or first departmental goal is about keeping the small town feel, which was very important as part of the visioning process. Our part of that would be to keep close to our businesses, understand what they need and want, maybe that's surveys or one-on-one outreach, and cross-promoting events and various programs that we have. The second major initiative we'd like to take on over the next couple of years is a wayfinding system, connecting the key tourism attractions and governmental buildings, as well as creating a much stronger tie between the county events center, fairgrounds, and our downtown, because there's so many visitors that come and visit that facility year-round, and we'd like to have them come and shop and enjoy our downtown as well. A second goal would be around expanding events and attractions. One thing to note about the vision is it was never intended to just be a city vision. It was a community-wide vision, so not the full burden of implementing it would not fall only on city staff, but it's leveraging the event efforts of the entire community. And that's particularly true for this one because there are a number of very successful events and seasoned event coordinators that certainly don't need us to coordinate them or take their place in any way. Nor would we want to. We would want to build on that good work. So look at funding and establishing additional events and attractions. This is a longer-term goal, not something that would be accomplished in a year or two, clearly. And to continue to build the capacity of the community and event leaders to hold events. Also to build on the visitor information avenues that are out there through visitor information kiosks and perhaps additional marketing or arts and public art initiatives that are already underway through our Main Street program. Another goal would be to maintain Canby identity. We do that already through our beautification efforts as the Blade Sign program. We have a mural program in place. We just need to make sure to promote it and find local partners to implement that better. And of course, our successful
flower basket and planter program that makes Canby truly the garden spot. The next city goal that we would be working to implement is growth and economic development, focusing on industrial and business growth. The piece that we're actively working on now is making sure that our development process is seamless and clear and as efficient as possible. We're meeting with the Planning Commission later this month to to put a proposal before them to expedite the review process for industrial buildings. We're also going to be talking about a new program that we're going to be launching called Open Counter. That makes it very easy for new businesses, entrepreneurs, or existing businesses to understand our process, to understand specifically what licenses they need, how much it's going to cost them, and how long it's going to take. And that'll be available online 24/7, which makes it much more accessible to when people are actually thinking about these things. So I'm excited to talk to you more about that at our urban renewal meeting next week. We'll continue to convene our industry clusters. We've already convened 2, another one scheduled for later this month, and over the next year, work through the remaining 3 that were identified in our economic development strategy. Be more proactive about business recruitment. In the vision document, it talked about high-tech green jobs, and part of that is having a strong foundation, which we already do in a lot of cases with infrastructure. Very excited to hear Canby Tel's initiative to have us be a megabit city that provides a greatly enhanced broadband capacity, which is really important to these high-tech green industries. And then to be more proactive about business recruitment, partnering with our regional and state organizations, doing trade shows, recruitment trips, that kind of thing, and that will be reflected in the budget that you'll see in a bit. Also, another goal to keep a vital central downtown, working to attract more restaurants, clothing shops, brew pubs, things that were identified in a retail study that was completed last summer, and to work hand in hand with those businesses to find them the right spot, make sure they're connected with all the resources that we have, and that they're as successful. Next, to work on the design standards to make sure that there's a historic, consistent look downtown as much as possible, using the tools and resources that we have. Another item that's been before you, before the Planning Commission, to look at integrating more mixed-use office and residential downtown, where we need more policy direction from both bodies on how to move forward with that. To foster a strong business community, using the tools we already have and building on additional ones, and a new area of effort on fostering entrepreneurship and supporting new businesses. We've done really well on a number of the other fronts, but we'd like to take more of a focus on that. And finally, strategic property acquisition. There's been a discussion at the City Council level and urban renewal level about downtown and over time civic block redevelopment and planning. So that would be a longer-term goal that the urban renewal director, city administrator, and economic development might be involved in. And then finally, on the transportation, public safety, and public services, I'd like to say that this is really more of a placeholder. It's not something that the Economic Development Department would be the sole lead on. I just wanted to make sure that these projects were memorialized in your thinking, because they are in the urban renewal plan and in the economic development plan, and then I itemize as specific projects that you're very familiar with. So won't go into a lot of detail there. The final one would be to encourage higher density residential development in and around downtown. Now that the economy is turning and we're seeing more development interest, this was something that we heard from our community. They wanted to have more housing options that people could walk and shop and use transit. And so that's something that we could be working toward as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from
Presentation.
No, I just want to say I'm excited to hear more about this open counter thing. anything we can do to make business open easier is thumbs up in my books. I'm excited to hear more about that in coming weeks. Thanks.
Thank you.
So we have Eric here from the Swim Center that can talk about some of their goals.
Okay, so, what we do at the Canby Swim Center is totally fits in with all of the council goals with community, economic growth, park and rec, and public safety. Well, maybe not transportation, but unless people are trying to swim across a river or something.
Today it could have come in handy.
That it's transportation. Our continual service is programs for the community, recreation, and activities for the whole community. We have safety and education, learn to swim classes for all ages, from parent-child classes for tots, all the way up to triathlon classes for adults. Let's see, we have lifeguard training classes for teenagers so they can find employment. And we also have 4 different swim teams. We have a Penguin Club, which is our junior swim team, the Canby Gators, which we provide the facilities for them to train at, as well as the high school swim team. And then we have a master swim team, which is an adult swim team for 19 and over. So all of you are eligible. So we train as you go, so if you're interested. Economic growth, bringing people into the community for just for daily use at the pool, for swimming lessons, and for a lot of different events. A good example of one of these events is March 15th and 16th. There's going to be a large swim meet here in Canby where it's called the Tall Timbers Meet, where there's like 10 to 12 different teams from all over Oregon and Southwest Washington. They're coming to compete for the weekend. There'll be a prelims and finals, and so they'll be there for the whole weekend. So it will bring people to the restaurants and stores in the town so that they can use our services throughout the weekend. That's one example. Triathlon is another example. And we also, I don't know if you're aware, but we have Oregon Swimming Awards have been in Canby for the last 4 or 5 years also in November, and that brings in another 800 people. It will be the 14th and 15th of March, will be like 500 to 800 people coming to town for that also. We also, so things that we brought in for the last year, we continually look at all of our programs and our facility and try to reevaluate and make changes as we need to. And so this year, we started maybe a little over a year ago, we started providing all of our information in Spanish and putting it on the website, having the schedules available in Spanish, having all of our swimming lesson information available in Spanish. And so that's our job to outreach to all the community members. And so we're trying to make an effort to communicate with everyone in town, not just if you only speak English. So hopefully we're bringing in some more people and have that available. And we don't have a lot of employees that speak fluent Spanish, so at least we have the information available for them. And that really fills in some gaps there. So I think that's going over pretty well. We also just every season, every 3 months, we change our schedule. And so like this schedule just started the beginning of, or the end of February. And so it's considered our spring schedule. And we added another session of Penguin Club. Normally we start it in April, and we started it in February this year. So we have 2 Springs Penguin Clubs, which means we have another 36 kids that are learning how to swim competitively. They may not go on to swim competitively long-term, but what it does do is it gives them a good foundation so that they are a much safer swimmer. If they're swimming laps instead of just swimming back and forth a little ways, and so if they can swim some laps, they're much safer in the water. So I think, most of what we do is all of the goals that you set out for us.
Thank you.
Eric, talk to me about facilities and where we're at, kind of short-term, long-term. We have an aging building, needs, hopes, wants, desires.
obviously, our pool is 40-plus years old now, 44 years old, and, you know, they don't build buildings the same way as they used to, so, you know, our locker rooms and office area and lobby are very limited. They're very small, especially for events like for this weekend. It's a very small facility for this, so they will be using tents and things to make it more usable. But I'd say our biggest area of concern is probably the locker rooms in the office area, because it's so limiting. And you know, we don't have family dressing rooms like a lot of new facilities and things like that. And then also, the other concern that we have, or goal, long-term goal, is to have more than one body of water, because if you have more than one body of water, you can have separate pool temperatures. You can have a warm water and a cool water. Obviously, some things are better in each. So, you know, the master swimmers, the lap swimmers, the swim teams would rather have a little cooler water, but the seniors, the swimming lessons would much rather have warm water. You know, ours is limited, but it's, you know, I think 20 years ago, you would have thought it wasn't going to last very long, but it seems to be doing okay. So it's a pretty, we keep it in good shape.
No, you guys are taking great care of it, and I know that it's been a long process to keep it in shape, but it's just good to know, again, kind of where we're at, what's going on.
Maybe one other concern is that our parking area is not exactly huge either, and we share it with the adult center, and there are some times where it's a push, so parking is a little limited for both facilities. I know that their membership has improved lately, and ours you know, we try to continue for ours to go, and so that's another issue.
Do you know so again, this is one of those unique situations for the city where we own the building but not the dirt.
Correct.
Are we pretty much borderline to borderline on the building, meaning like we're built lot line to lot line? Is there room to expand?
You know, anything that we would do would need okay from the landowners, but they, in the past, have been open for us to do more if we wanted to. So there is space if we had the funds to do that. I think there is, you know, there is available space for us to do that. On both sides of the building, there's probably a lot size about the size of the building. So, you know, there's quite a bit of room.
Councilor Parker?
Yeah, a couple years ago, former Councilor Ayers and I spent several days walking around talking about the swim center and different ideas, and it would be nice if we could shake loose a few dollars to do a master study, a feasibility study, and just see what the ratio is of capital funds in to output. One of the things that Eric's talking about here, hundreds of people being there, we have no way to monetize those people being there. Last time I was there, watching my son at a swim meet, I said, Eric, how come we don't have a pop machine in here? And he says, well, the chlorine would eat it up. And I thought, well, gosh, it would be kind of nice to push out that wall and have a separate coffee shop. And then I work out at Club Fit, which is a pole building, and both of those locker rooms were add-ons to that. So it would be nice if we could have some discussions about what it would take for us to get from here to some sort of understanding of where there would be a payoff for some enhancement there of whether you could build onto that, have some additional, reorient the office and the dressing rooms. I'd like to get some master study into that. And yes, I've had discussions with some school board members and school officials, and they are willing to discuss with us options that could take place on that property. So it just seems like, one, we could do a better job monetizing these, and as a suggestion for a staff discussion with economic development as well, of brochures and things that we can hand out to when people show up at all of these tournaments. Brian and I have often joked about getting a wagon full of ice cream and just going through Ackerman Field during some of those some of the summer athletic events. But it seems like there's an opportunity to kind of pull these things together and have some commerce going on.
Definitely. Eric, rate-wise, we staying steady for time being? I mean, and rate, what I mean by just being able to swim?
Yes.
Cost to swim?
Yes.
Good and simple, I like it.
Yes.
Oh, just a quick one for Eric. Roughly how many youth do we have involved in, the Gators and the club?
The Gators team is somewhere between 60 and 80 annually.
Okay.
Obviously, it's more than 80 swimmers throughout the year because they kind of come and go. There's also 50 kids that do Penguin Club for the summer, 36 for the first spring Penguin Club. There'll be 36 more for the second spring Penguin Club. And we had 60 swimmers on the high school team.
Wow.
And we have about 15 master swimmers right now.
Very good. Nice. Thank you, Ms. Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions for Eric at all?
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Eric.
So we have Julie here, talk about transit.
Hello, Mayor, councilors. The department goals of CAT that fit into the council goals were under the council's community and the transportation and public safety goals. The first one, and they don't really go in any kind of priority, so I'll just blurt them out in the order that you have them there. The first department goal would be supporting Canby businesses, and that one, under that one, we had promote or maintain or expand free shopper shuttles. Our free shopper shuttle's been very popular, and it benefits both the riders and the Canby businesses that they go to. It's also really efficient for CAT because we're able to group these rides and provide them with fewer resources. So it's a very efficient service. The shuttle's available to residents of South Canby on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, and Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, and to North Canby residents on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons. Riders simply call the day before and request a ride to their favorite shopping location, whichever that is. And we're looking for different ways of promoting the shopper shuttle, and it'll be included in all of our other outreach efforts. And then our second action under that goal of supporting the Canby businesses was to explore the benefits and challenges of advertising on CAT buses. And this has been a goal of ours for some time. Our initial research into it says that we should probably contract out to a management of a program that would sell the advertising and manage that. And we're still looking at that, but to accomplish this, we'll need to develop a sales policy and identify a contractor to manage the program. And then our second departmental goal under community is communication and outreach. And improving and expanding all types of outreach is an ongoing challenge for CAT. As the services we provide change, we're always looking for opportunities to tell the story of CAT and provide information about CAT. And our goal will always be to continue to do this in as many ways as we can. And we've listed them in our actions here. So we would do it under, information of signs and kiosks and schedules, websites, social media in English and Spanish, and then by attending events and participating in the community, and also through radio and television, which I didn't put on the list. And then under the same category, a departmental goal would be planning, or to complete a plan, to update the transit master plan. For several years, I've mentioned the need for a formal plan that addresses long-term transit goals. And as many of you know, near the end of our formal planning process in 2011, we were faced with implementing a dramatic service cut that sort of sidelined the final steps of our planning process and turned everything kind of on its head, so we could deal with the immediate issues that were facing us. And very soon, we're going to need to make some more adjustments to our service that will better coordinate with the changes that TriMet's making in their preparation for the new MAX line. So I'm hoping to be able to fold together our plan with some of those changes and have that happen at the same time, along that same, yes?
That seems to me kind of the number one priority. I think of just trying to get that ironed out.
Yeah.
How is what is that ripple effect?
Well, I went to an open house in Oregon City last night that TriMet held regarding what the changes would be. And their assumptions, which they say are not what will absolutely happen, but their assumptions are that the lines, the direct lines into downtown Portland that leave from Oregon City will terminate at the park stop of the new MAX line. So the 99 and the 33 in particular that travel along the Milwaukee corridor, through Milwaukee there will. So it means an additional transfer to our customers. So it could have a very serious impact on our commuters, because we already are asking them to make a transfer in Oregon City, so this would be an additional transfer. So I'll be watching this really closely and attending those meetings. I voiced that, the duration of the trip is going to be very important to our customers, and to keep that as brief as it can be is what we would like to see. So nothing has been decided. They repeated that over and over, but they were there basically demonstrating how that would work. It sounded like they would leave the 35 alone and some of the other lines, but the two that go down McLaughlin Boulevard would essentially stop in Milwaukee. So you'd have to get off and get on the MAX. So, anyway.
Okay, thank you, Julie.
And then the next category of your goals would be the transportation and public safety and public services. And we have a goal to maximize service, and maximizing service is probably always our highest priority, and it takes up most of my time, I think, and most of my effort. We want to provide the most effective service we can with the available resources, and each of the actions that I've listed there speak to that goal. And another departmental goal is adequate facilities and equipment. And one of our long-term goals for CAT was achieved when we moved into our new office space in October. And since then, we're still working on a solution for parking that would be more long-term. It looks like we're making progress in that direction. I hope to have something soon with more detail about that. And then the other items are pretty obvious. Planning for vehicle expansion. If we can put back more service, we're going to need more vehicles, because we got rid of a lot when we cut back service. And also replacing the ones we have. And then, of course, any bus stop amenities like lights and shelters and benches are always a part of our goals. And then probably maybe our second most prioritized goal would be stable funding. And of course, funding the service we provide is always a focus. And finding dependable funding will probably always be a focus of CAT and one of our goals. So.
Julie, another question that I had, looking at the benefits and challenges of advertising on the CAT buses. I know that's been something that's been talked about, could do it, couldn't do it. Is it still worth it and does it make sense?
Well, it kind of depends on if we could find an entity that would be willing to manage it. Our challenge is that it's basically a full-time job, and we don't have the staff to actually be selling the advertising and then making sure that the advertising that's displayed on the vehicles is changed at a regular basis and all of that. We just don't have the staff to do that. But Lamar Advertising does that for TriMet, and I've had a couple of meetings with them. They're really not interested in us because we don't have enough buses. We don't go down I-5, you know. Our visibility is a lot different than TriMet's. Their recommendation was to sell local advertising, which I think would be very supportive and a win-win for the businesses if we can work out a way to do it. And I think if we could find the right contractor willing to take that on and just give us a cut of whatever the revenue is, I think it could work. When we ordered our new Gilligs, we have a blank space on the back, and we're expecting to put advertising there. That was our goal, and we have spaces inside the bus also to put advertising. So it may seem glacial, but we are trying to move in that direction.
Yeah, I can't imagine the challenge of trying to do that. So no, it was just a question of how you keep plugging away at it. But it sounds like it's moving, but it's very, very incremental.
Yeah, it's a matter of me having the time to really focus on that on top of everything else. So I get to it once in a while, but I really do need to put some pressure on that. I think it would be a good source of revenue if we can pull it together.
Any other questions for Julie at all?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie.
So the last department that we have on the agenda for tonight is the wastewater treatment plant, and Dave Connor is here. And while he's coming up here, I thought I would take this opportunity to acknowledge Dave. I don't know if most of you know him. He doesn't come to council meetings very often and diligently works down at the wastewater treatment plant. But Dave has done an extraordinary job and taken a lead role in the last year, 18 months, to take proactive measures and make recommendations for changes at the plant that have resulted in significant cost savings to the city. I think you've gotten those reports, but you might not get to see him very often, so I just thought this would be a good time to acknowledge that. He's really done a great job.
Thank you, Amanda. My tour of the wastewater treatment plant. And for the newer counselors, if you have not had his guided tour of the wastewater treatment plan, you should do so, because we all had to. And while taking these proactive measures and making these recommendations, has also been working with less than stellar equipment and trying to deal with those challenges at the same time. And sometimes I think it's easy to settle into fighting battles and stop moving forward, and I just really want to acknowledge that. Great job.
Thank you. So, yes, I'm Dave, lead operator at the wastewater treatment plant, and so our goals on paper, they don't, look as many as these guys, but they're big goals, they're worthy goals. They include public safety, growth, and community. As we move into the future, our goal is to continue meeting DEQ and EPA discharge regulations, which during every permit cycle, they get tighter and tighter, so we have to find, better ways to meet those regulations, whether it's through capital improvement projects or fighting DEQ, I guess, sometimes with those regulations. Another one is during capital improvement projects, we want to ensure everyone involved is fiscally responsible we're kind of proud of what we do down there, and, we've had some big energy-saving projects. We want to continue doing those, especially during capital improvement projects. We want our engineers to know that, our goal is to reuse buildings if we can, to, utilize everything we can that we have there to just be responsible for what we have for everybody involved. And last but not least, we want to continually build on providing educational opportunities to the community and local schools. We have